Today is a very special day because these are my first Magic cards. These are the first cards I've ever painted for Magic the Gathering, and I've got sent this, which are the artist proofs of, well, my card. I'm so excited, which is something I never thought I'd say because, well, I mostly paint and design sci-fi stuff, and Magic the Gathering is, well, Magic the Gathering. But somehow it happened. Magic decided to release a sci-fi set, so I got asked to design some stuff and paint a card for Magic. I can't believe that this is actually happening. Alright, here we go. Okay, let's just back up for a second here. I just got an email from Wizards of the Coast for a commission for art for Magic the Gathering. So this is very exciting. This is my first time doing it. I've never done it before. Before this, I've worked with Wizards and Magic the Gathering on their world building team, but I've never made art for the card. I don't really consider myself an illustrator usually, so this is really exciting for me. Don't know when the set is coming out, so I don't know when this video is coming out, or if it's coming out at all, because the card might not get made, in which case I would still be under NDA and this video would have been for nothing. So what I got in an email is a rough description of the card that I'm supposed to illustrate. And there's like information on the color of the card, in which case it is a white card, and there's some other mood stuff and notes by my art director. First thing I'm gonna do is start looking for reference. Now, I don't think I can show you a lot of this or add anything at all because a lot of it's copywritten and confidential, so just know that I do have a reference board which I'm constantly referring to whenever I'm just making all this. So another thing that Wizard sends to me is a world building document. It's a bunch of concept art that other artists have made in preparation for this set. I mean, I say it's a bunch, it's actually a lot. It's a 200-page document full of character designs, environment designs, prop designs, concept art. It's basically all the information you would need to illustrate a card for this particular set of Magic the Gathering. While it can be a lot, I'm only focusing on the pages that are relevant to me. It's nice to know everything else though. You know, for the most part, I'm only looking at pages that are related to the character and the faction that I'm designing for. So this is one part of my reference board. This is the only part that I'm legally allowed to show you, so here it is. And these are mainly references for the kind of like robot style that I want to design for, like something that's a little bit more round and cutesy. And it's just references for past Magic cards. What I'm designing is kind of similar in concept to the one that I have on screen here, and also just a few frames from movies that are kind of telling the same story I'm trying to tell. Once I have my reference board set up, it's time to start doing some thumbnails. So when it comes to thumbnailing, the first thing I try to do is write down the key points that are really important for me and for the piece. I'll just write them down on the side here as a reminder to myself, and then I can start actually doing the thumbnails and the drawing. So this set of thumbnails are purely just for me, you know. It's a way for me to find the story and find the design of the card. I've made the thumbnails in the exact size of a Magic card illustration as well, so I get a feel for what it would look like when it's printed out physically. These are so rough and loose, and I don't show my client any of these. This is just purely for me to get a handle on things. So after this, I kind of have a good idea of what I want. The brief is to design kind of like a robot version of a medic, so it's kind of like a mechanic, and I wanted a shot of the character doing some repairs on another robot. So once I figured that part out, I started to work on, well, what does the character actually look like? So these sketches go into a little bit more detail. They're still not really finished, and they're still really rough, but now I'm starting to think of like the functionality of the character, what the character looks like, how it moves, and how it's gonna go about its repairs. And it's just thinking about the story that I want to tell. I want to inject some personality personality to that character, not just like a faceless robot. And on top of that, I'm also trying to conform to the design language of the world building guide. You know, these artists have set out the art direction for the set, so I have to make sure that I also follow that style. And again, these sketches are not something that I show my art director. These are purely for me to figure stuff out. Okay, so now we get into the actual thumbnails that I'm sending over to Wizards. I chose the best 4 of my original really loose thumbnails and then started working on them. I took pictures of them, I imported them into Procreate, and then just started sketching over them. And you know, now that I've done some drawing of what I want the robot to look like, that informs a lot of the decisions that I'm making here. It might seem like a lot of work to get up to this point, but it's easy for me because I'm doing things step by step and it doesn't get too overwhelming. You know, I have a lot of things that I've already figured out before I've even gotten to this point. So now that I'm adding value to the thumbnail, I'm also checking for, you know, what the composition would look like. I'm seeing how I would like to light the scene. You know, the sparks coming from the front, then I have to make sure that I show that and that it's communicated clearly to my art director. So once that's done, I package it into a nice little document and then I send it over to Wizards for approval. And this is a thumbnail that they ultimately went with and the one that I painted up. Once I got approval for the thumbnail, the first thing I did was build a maquette of it in Blender. Now I think Blender is way too powerful of a tool to pass up nowadays because I can actually texture it in Blender and I can put lights where I want it, and it can save me so much time, which if you're working commercially in the deadline, like you have to do, because like, yeah, sure, I could manually paint all this and render it to be really realistic, but then that leaves me with like no time to actually push it to the next level. So Blender is just giving me a head start when it comes to like getting a painting started. After that, I painted it up in Photoshop just to get it to a good level of quality, get some lighting in, get some texture in, and then I sent it off to my art director as a first pass just to ask like, hey, am I moving in the right direction? Are there any changes you want to make before I move on with this painting? At this point for me, I was feeling quite a lot of self-doubt because, you know, you've seen Magic the Gathering art. They're fantastical and painterly, and I don't make images like that. I make images that are realistic and sci-fi and gritty and hard. And so I just didn't feel like I fit. But I had to trust that Wizards knew what they were doing. You know, I mean, they did hire me after all, so they had to have known what they were getting. And there was this internal pressure for me to try and adapt my art style to look more like, you know, the ones that I see on Magic cards. But at the end of the day, it was my card. So I wanted to stay true to my style and just like, I just pushed forward with making an image that I wanted to see, which is something that's a little bit more cinematic. So after I got the go ahead, I started painting it up into this, which is it just has more detail. Everything is just a little bit more polished, a little bit more finished, and the lighting is just adjusted a little bit better. And because it is a white card, I had to add some detailing and some graphics that were white. So I sent in a bunch of variations of the paint job for approval, and then they ended up choosing this one. After that, I printed it out in the actual size on my own printer just to check to see if everything looks good. The print quality may not be the same, but regardless, I just wanted to make sure that the values and the silhouette read well at that size. Once I was happy with everything, it was time for a final round of refinements. Just a bunch of final touches to make sure that everything is as polished as it could possibly be with the time frame that I had. So this whole process took about 3 weeks, including rounds of feedback, so I had to wait a little bit in between rounds of feedback. So the total time I spent painting this was about less than 2 weeks. And considering it was my first card, the whole process went quite smoothly. There wasn't too many hiccups. And overall, everyone was pretty happy with the final result. Happy enough that I was asked to paint another card, which will be coming a little later. Right, where were we? Oh, these are beautiful. Oh, it has a foil. I have a foil one too. Wow, this is foil. So as far as I know, are these all cards? Oh my god, there's so many of them. These are artist proofs, and the way you can tell these are artist proofs is if you look at the back, there isn't a printed Magic the Gathering card back. They're just plain white. And I think that's because they don't want these to be like official cards for, I don't know, market economic reasons. So that's how you can tell when the Magic the Gathering card is an artist proof versus an actual regulation card. Oh, these are from these are the foil versions. I think the foil one is beautiful. And there it is. That's my name, right there in the bottom. That's pretty damn cool. Okay, I don't usually take time to celebrate the stuff that I make because a lot of the things that I make never ever see the light of day. They're usually under NDA, and well, some of them get cancelled and shelved and will never ever ever see the light of day. And I can't even talk about it, let alone show it. So it's nice to have something that is, well, out in the world and in people's hands. It's a good day. It's a good day.